Okay, good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started, and we'll see who else ends up joining us this morning. So, want to start first with welcoming any new people who are here today. Eric, we're going to, of course, introduce you later, so you've got plenty of time to introduce yourself. But let's see. So, where did he go? Connor, are you there? You there? There you are.
Yep.
So, Connor, you want to just quickly tell people who you are? And Mark, you'd be very interested in this, by the way.
Yes. Hi. Good morning, everybody. I'll keep this brief. My name is Connor Osgood. I work for the University of Arizona's Yuma Center for Excellence in Desert Agriculture, also known as YCETA, because it's kind of a mouthful, that title. We're a public-private partnership between the university here in Yuma and local industry. So we're 0% funded by the university. We're funded through projects that we engage with local farmers and technology and chemical, seed, pesticide companies, all that kind of stuff, as well as a board of stakeholders, which are composed of farmers and producers here in Yuma. Yuma has a three no $4 billion agricultural economy every year, so it's a huge. I mean, it's our major employer down here, about 67%. And my interest in broadband is that I'm the ag tech program manager, if I didn't say that already. So we put in, the county put in a middle mile fiber project, and my group got an NSF grant to do a last mile broadband project specifically for the farming community out here. So we're building like a 27 or 32 tower network that'll stretch all across the desert in really rural areas of the farming, um, the broader green belt down here, where there's very little access to any kind of, uh, you can't even make a phone call. And so we want to start integrating a lot of really high tech agricultural stuff like robots, drones, things like that that need super high data transmission speeds for AI and so forth. So this tower network that we're building will have symmetrical upload and download speeds and full coverage across uh, all the growing areas down here. So I'm just here to listen and learn a little bit more, and pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Right. And as I told Connor earlier, that we will schedule him to do a more in-depth presentation for us in the next few weeks.
Would
So
love to.
welcome, Connor. Anybody else who's new to us today? I take that to be a no. So let's move on. First of all, thanks to our sponsors, Care First Health Plan, Karen Ziegler Consulting Services, Valley Telecom, Kajit, and Triad. Okay, so moving on, our agenda for today. Um, First of all, I just want to remind everybody that, as you know, I send out my newsletter sometimes a little later than I'd like, but anyway, I try to capture. First of all, I do send out the chat, and so if you missed anything, that you can pick that up, any contacts. And while I'm talking about chat, as you all know, I say this, try to say this every meeting that I attend, actually, that if you really want to capture the chat right
Hey,
away,
good morning. Good morning. How are you doing?
Vaughn, you got it.
Huh? Sorry about yesterday. No, that's okay. You said you probably would have to, go. So, yeah. So, got a couple minutes? I just gotta catch you up. Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
I'm going to find
uh,
you and mute you.
I
Where
think
are
I
you? There you are, Vaughn.
let's see, where did I put it?
Okay, there we go. Um, so as I was saying, that if you want to capture today, if you've heard somebody talk and they put a link in the chat or whatever, that you can download the chat to your computer right after this meeting. If you go to chat at the very right, upper right-hand corner, you'll see three ellipses. You can click on that and it'll say save the chat, and you can do that. Or else you can wait until I send out the chat later. So I just wanted to tell you that. And then want to move on, Aaron? Let's uh, let's start with you this morning, Aaron Lorandos.
All right. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Dave.
I was gonna do it yesterday, but people had their cars parked.
Hi, Christy.
Okay.
My name is Erin Lorandos. I am the Digital Equity Program Manager. I work for the Arizona Commerce Authority in the State Broadband Office. And so I am here to give a brief update from the whole team, both the BEAD side of the shop and my stuff with digital equity. There's nothing really new to report from previous meetings at this point. We are accepting applications for the BEAD grants to build out the infrastructure piece. So as people can imagine, because of the fact that we're in open procurement, what we share has to be with everybody. So we don't have a lot specifically within stakeholder groups. We try to keep it all at the the recorded posted webinar level. So we have been doing that. We have hosted a couple of application webinars and have moved into technical assistance webinars for eligible applicants. And all of that information and recordings of the public meetings can be found on our website, which I'll drop here in a second. We do request that any communication go through our broadband inbox, which is broadband@azcommerce.com, so that questions can be tracked and frequently asked questions can be shared publicly as well. The first round of the applications, that window does close on February 5th. And the eligible entities are really the local governments, ISPs, anyone who is actually able to build out those networks. And all of that documentation, again, can be found on our website. ISPs and other applicants can attend those technical assistance sessions if there are specific questions at this time. So let me give you the broadband website. Oh, Nicole already did it for me. Thank you so much. But I'm just going to hit enter because I did that as well. But you can get into the pre-registration information and the subgrantee application information, as well as look at what those project areas look like and see all of those recorded webinars as well. On the DE side, we have our approval for our capacity grant. This is the funding at the state level, basically to implement our digital equity plan. We received that approval on December 19th, and our period of performance for the digital equity program then started on January 1st. We are working through few last minute checks and balances before we release information on the subgrant process for the digital equity program, but just know that that will be coming very soon. We did hear from many of our stakeholders that to get approval to apply from their organizations, they would need a pretty decent runway. And so we are doing our best to acknowledge that and build that into our timeline. So the digital equity information can be found on a subpage of that page up above. And here is a direct link for you. You'll see on there our tentative timeline for the next steps. Here early in 2025, we will start our subgrantee prep and then open our applications for the subgrant process. You can also read the entire digital equity plan on our website, and that really will inform the types of projects and programs that we'll be interested in funding through the subgrants, as that money is really meant to implement our plan. So if you haven't had the opportunity to take a look at that yet and are interested in a conversation, let me know. Just like with the BEAD stuff, until we open that subgrant process officially, I am happy to have conversations around how the work of your organization might fit in and whether or not you might be eligible for a subgrant. Let's see. In other news, we attended the Tribal Legislative Day yesterday, which was fantastic. Our new ACA's new tribal liaison was able to make a lot of really great connections there, and she's really excited to get going with her work. She's cross-functional. She's not only on the broadband team, so of course we were able to connect on lots of different things. Let's see. I think that's all the big stuff. I did want to highlight, just for folks who might be interested, In next weekend, the American Library Association's winter conference, which is called LibLearn X, is here in the Phoenix area. And we have a number of library-related presentations from Arizona librarians and related staff. And in addition, ALA's president, Cindy Holt, will be here. She is having a virtual and in-person roundtable about empowering tribes through connections with libraries next week, Wednesday. And so I just dropped a link if you're interested in attending that. I had the honor of getting to meet her at the Shelby conference back in October. And besides just being a wonderful person, she's a tribal member herself. And it's very an interesting conversation to be paying attention to, of course. So I wanted to share that with everybody. I think that's it. Any questions for me?
So Aaron, I believe that people do not have to be associated with a library to attend the conference if they wanted to. Am I correct?
You don't have to be. However, there's a pretty price tag to attend the whole conference. So it's really that might be a bit of a prohibitive factor, especially if you're not working in libraries. But this event next Wednesday with the president of ALA is free, either in person or virtual.
Okay. Any questions for Aaron? Going once, going twice. If not, let's move on. Nicole, I believe you're here this morning. Any updates from NTIA this morning?
Hey, good morning. Yep, nice to meet everyone I haven't before. I'm Nicole Umayam. I'm the Federal Program Officer for Arizona with NTIA. So I'm not with the broadband office, but I support all things BEAD and broadband digital equity here in the state. And, as a reminder, I am a resource in addition to the Commerce Authority, who is the federal government subrecipient of BEAD funds. I'm always available to help answer program information or chat a little bit more about broadband in the state. So I love to do that. We don't have a ton of new policy items to share. We're certainly interested in how the broadband office is doing with their open subgrantee selection right now. I've posted some of the links, so I do encourage you to kind of participate in their webinars if you're able to, or at least be informed about all of the elements that are presented in their guidance documents as well as on NTIA's guidance documents. We've talked a little bit before about some recent policy notices, and we won't get too much into that today, but I'll just link to the December alternative tech policy notice that I know is of interest, and happy to connect with people offline about that as well.
So Nicole, would you mind, I know you have talked about this before, but just a little more about the alternative technologies, kind of where that's at and what that's all about?
Yeah, I mean, we can figure out a time to do a greater briefing if you like, but
Okay.
I'll kind of refer you to what's written now. It is in response to public comment that NTIA received over the past summer, and it outlines additional requirements just clarifies some requirements that states and territories were grappling with in considering how to rank alternative technology broadband solutions. So this is after fiber solutions have been considered and rated according to their initial proposals, and then how to find alternative broadband solutions for some of those remaining locations.
Nicole, do you have any sense about whether any of the states have kind of changed their priorities based on that new ruling or not? Or
No, because states are still following their approved Volume 2 plans, which lays out the rubrics for what's called priority broadband service, which is fiber majority projects, and then non-priority projects, which encompasses everything else. So this really kind of validates those existing processes. So we haven't seen states amend anything. It doesn't all of a sudden make one type of broadband service get ranked any different than is already outlaid in their initial proposals.
Steve, this is
Yeah,
Mark.
Mark.
Just want to mention that I believe 2 states now have made commitments to use satellite services for a portion of their BBSLs. Nevada has interest, and you have to buy capacity. The state has to, it's an odd thing. It's not like other service types. The state has to basically pay to reserve capacity on a satellite network that would be sufficient to cover all the BSLs they're putting forward, whether they're ever served or not. Nevada has made a buy apparently with Project Kuiper, Amazon's yet to launch LEO network for some significant group of BSLs. And I believe Maine, correct me if I'm wrong, if Nicole or anyone knows, but Maine has done something similar with Starlink. Again, it's a pay to reserve capacity, and those satellite providers would have 4 years to deliver, up to 4 years to deliver those services and prove that they have, well, they'd have to prove now in the negotiations, but they have up to 4 years to deliver those services, and they have to be serviceable within 10 days, which is common to other technology types. But there have been 2 state buys, if you will, of capacity that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark? Okay, moving on. While we're at it, Mala, you want to give us a quick update on what's happening both here in Arizona, but also any latest views about what's happening in Washington? Like as you know, we've been doing our series, what we know, what we think we know, and what we don't know. So anyway, go ahead, Mala.
Yeah, sure thing, Steve. I'm Mala Muralidharan. I'm the State E-Rate Coordinator for Public Libraries. I work on the E-Rate program. The E-Rate, it's keeping me busy right now because our E-Rate application started as of yesterday. Just so you know, the new folks who may be interested, the application is for internet access to schools and libraries, as well as for their internal connections to help deliver broadband services to these anchor institutions. The application is for the period starting July 1, 2025 to June 30th of 2026. The application window opened as of yesterday, and it closes on March 26th, March 26, 2025. And all of those applications will be reviewed by USAC, the Universal Service Administrative Company, and before they are funded. And they're funded based on the National School Lunch Program discounts. So that's in a nutshell what E-Rate is all about. And the application is a complex process, and it spreads through the year. It's not just one application. You've got to apply 4 different times in the year for different stages of the process. So that's the period that we have right now. So all of our schools and libraries that need the internet access are applying, going through the process right now. And this actually is probably the only program that has existed for more than 20 years, providing internet access and providing affordable broadband to the anchor institutions. So I'm also looking at FCC's modifications for the next cycle of Category 2 applications. Category 2 are our internal connections. They are based not on the school lunch program, but they're based on square footage for libraries and number of students at a school. This budget is a capped budget, and it's a 5-year budget. This is the last of that 5-year of the previous cycle. And the new cycle is going to start 26, 27, 26 to 31. So this is a good time to work with FCC to make any modifications or changes to the program. And there are plenty that we are suggesting based on what we see as success or not so successful stories from across the anchor institutions. So I'm working on that as well. Of course, as we all know, Jessica Rosenworcel is stepping down as of the 20th. She's the current FCC chair. Brendan Carr is going to be the new chair, taking over on that day. Brendan Carr already is on the FCC commission, so he's taking over as the chair. Potential, there is one vacancy seat on that commission. 3 GOP contenders. Of course, it's going to be GOP. So 3 GOP contenders for that position are Ariel Roth, she's a policy director of telecommunication in Senator Cruz's team. Olivia Trusty, she's a staffer for Senator Roger Vickers. Tom Johnson, he's the former general counsel of FCC and the current partner at Wiley Rain. So these are the 3 top contenders as of now. Could change, not sure what's going to happen. So let's wait and watch. The other important thing that I'm watching is the Supreme Court's listening to the oral arguments on Universal Service Fund. Universal Service Fund is the fund based from which 4 programs are served. One is, of course, the E-rate program, the rural health program, the high cost, and the 4th one, Lifeline programs. These are the 4 programs that are subsidized through the Universal Service Fund. And there has been a lot of contention about how this has been funded so far. It's been funded by the service providers, especially the landline service providers, and that base funding is their contribution to this fund has been steadily increasing, and it is now over 30%. So there is a talk about broadening the base on one hand, including other broadband users, but at the same time, also this fund, the legitimacy of this fund is being questioned, and that's the hearing that the Supreme Court is going to be hearing, and they have agreed to listen to oral arguments about it. Several organizations have submitted briefs, including Shelby, the schools, health, libraries, broadband, and they're talking about, the briefs talk about the importance of the Universal Service Fund to all of these programs and what they've collected. They're collecting stories. So if anyone has stories, real life stories to submit about the importance of the broadband connections to the schools and libraries, rural health, this is a good opportunity to submit those so that those briefs can be submitted to the Supreme Court. That's all I have, Steve, for now.
Okay.
And back to you.
Any questions from Awa? So Jonathan, if I can put you on the spot, I see you're online again. And first of all, thanks for presenting last week, and we'll want to bring you back for a more detailed overview, particularly after next week. But do you have any quickies about some of the things Mala touched on, particularly the new, who we think might be a new member of the FCC? If there's any talk about a replacement for NTIA administrator, those kinds of things.
Yeah, that was a very good list you provided. I was impressed. Um, the insider apparently I heard was Olivia Trusty is most likely Tom Johnson probably can't give up his very large salary at Wiley Ryan. And Olivia's got the inside track, is what I hear from a very prominent Republican friend. But it's all conjecture, nothing official. And I haven't got a lot of good intel on who's going to head NTIA. I'm not sure there's been much clarity on that lately. Actually talked to a former Republican NTIA administrator, and they weren't talking. So I'm not sure who's going to get that spot. But they're moving pretty quickly over there. I'm impressed by, there's already talking about a new RUS administrator, and they're actually moving faster than I recall the Obama administration moving in my day. So that's maybe a factor of having already been in office and having had some transition planning going for some time. But as far as the FCC, there was lightning speed in getting Brendan Carr in place. It was a historic record, in fact, of naming, I think, an FCC chair, maybe beat the previous record by something like 60 or 90 days. He was actually named in the same kind of speed as you would see normally a cabinet level position. And I think it's a factor of some of the issues in front of the FCC that are at the attention of Trump, his assiduous efforts to put himself in a good position. And finally, his relationship with Elon Musk, which is also something he cultivated for that was very useful to him in getting where he needed to be. So he got named super early. And I imagine that maybe he's using some of that influence to speed up the naming of the third commissioner. I mean, that again normally would be pretty far back in the spring before it's decided. But if Brendan has a preference and he tells Elon, who tells Trump, it could move a lot faster than you would typically see in order to get him the majority to do what the president wants or what Elon wants, or however you want to look at it. So that's kind of my read on the personnel front.
Thanks, Jonathan. For people who may have missed our meeting last week, so Jonathan, among his many accomplishments and engagements at the federal level, was a former member of the of the FCC. So thank you, Jonathan. I'm glad you're here again, and I do want to schedule you for some more insights after the after next week.
Well, so, Steve, I didn't want to miss Eric. Eric's a good friend and incredible pioneer and leader in the world of digital inclusion and workforce development. And I've been working with him on the Broadband Institute, and I think he's just a real pioneer. So we're very lucky that he's doing work here in Arizona. And I don't want to miss Eric. So thanks for having him too.
Yeah, I believe you're on his board, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. I'm on the advisory board there. Exactly.
Well, and that's a good segue to introducing Eric, who is the CEO of the Broadband Institute. And I'm just going to turn it over to him and let him tell you about the Broadband Institute, the work they're doing. I got to tell you, I had a great conversation with him yesterday. Had no idea. Well, he's going to probably talk, and I'll leave this up to him, but he's going to talk primarily about some of the workforce initiatives they're working on. But he has a breadth of experience in broadband, digital inclusion, workforce, and so forth. So we're really pleased. Actually, as I mentioned earlier, Erin had introduced him to us, and we're glad that she did that. And so I'm going to just turn it over to you, Eric. And if you want to share, I will stop sharing and turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Steve, and great to be here. Really honored. And Jonathan, I'm sorry I missed last week. I'd really tried, but I was on the skiing. I was skiing with my son, and it just didn't work. So let me see if I can share my screen.
You were brave to get back on the slopes after what happened last time. He had a little issue.
I broke my leg and tore all my ligaments in my knee last year skiing, so I wasn't sure if I'd ever do it again, but I did, and here we are. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I lost everyone here though, so now I want to see you. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm Eric Rosenzweig, and really, again, very happy to be here. I have about 11 years of experience in the broadband industry and a whole career in other industries before that. That's not very relevant. And as it relates to the broadband industry and myself, I'll just briefly say that I have a lot of experience in the deployment of cellular connectivity inside of buildings, and most recently using a cellular structure, a cell tower structure that is a fully enclosed unit that is getting traction in Arizona, coincidentally, in one of the communities where the major carriers were not allowed to, were shot down in providing carrier coverage in these communities because of the structure itself. And we were actually recently voted to be the only structure for digital infrastructure that's approved in this community. So as Connor, have a lot of experience in private networks and cellular networks, and would be very happy to help when ag solutions, and if I could be useful to anybody as it relates to deployment, always available. So as it relates to the Broadband Institute and what is it? And I got to remember now that I'm actually sharing my screen. So we all know this is not new, but I'll quickly just give you the background and how I got into this space. Coincidentally, when Jonathan was with the Wireless Infrastructure Association, WIA, which is the main trade association that represents the companies that build and design, build, and manage our cellular networks and tower infrastructure. The organization was sort of leading in how do they provide solutions to their members, and we're forward thinking in looking into solving the existing and upcoming workforce challenges that we as an industry had. And the FCC had chaired several committees, and the reports all came back pretty consistent, that there's a consistent set of problems. The Department of Labor gave the association money to build an apprenticeship program or to expand the program that they had built. And one of the tasks of that contract was to connect with the military connected community and veterans transitioning back from active duty into civilian life, and some other target populations. And during that, I was engaged and was honored to be a consultant for the organization, and was sort of the mouthpiece to the military connected community. And that was sort of my initial exposure to the workforce related things. And I got into this because of a personal tragedy. I lost my brother. It's another story. It's not very relevant, but that's sort of what brought me into, hey, let me focus on workforce, and let me see if I can help underserved communities in the military connected community transition into jobs. So that was sort of the high level background. And while doing that work, one of the things that I realized, broadband is very broad, right? And it covers so many different segments and aspects of our lives, but there are many different, not just technologies. There's fixed wireless, there's fiber broadband. There's so many different aspects of it that nobody was really centrally focused on unifying all of the efforts that are really being done out there. And there's some really good stuff that these trade associations are doing, and others in the ecosystem. And I kind of felt like there was an obstacle. Was I would go out there and I would connect with, go to a military base, or I would connect to have an opportunity to speak like this to sometimes thousands of people in the military connected community, but I had nowhere to tell them to go. They raise their hand, they're interested in where do we go to learn about the job, the industry, the occupations. And it kept coming back over and over again. And as an entrepreneur who has built and sold software companies, I thought, well, this is not that difficult of a lift. Why don't we build a digital gateway? And there was born the broadbandcareers.com, which I'll touch on in just a couple of minutes. And going through this exercise, realized that we really needed to come up with a what my vision is that the Broadband Institute can become the unifier of the agnostic unifier of all of the great work that's being done across the industry, from academia and the trade associations and bringing the employers together, focused on workforce. So we all know that the demand for professionals in our industry is significantly outpacing the available workforce, and there is a critical challenge. Not today, it has been, and it's only going to get worse. I like to say that the house is already on fire, if you will. What are some of the challenges? Well, the phone works, but the signal's invisible, right? I know I'm saying a lot of things that everyone on this call probably already knows, but there's a lack of awareness. If people don't know they don't think about the jobs, they don't think about the industry, they just want their phone to work. But because there's this phone with an invisible signal, there's a lack of awareness and identity. So that's what I think one of the biggest issues, and one of the areas that I'm excited to be a part of the solution. Digital skills training. I know we talk about digital equity, and Aaron, I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about your thoughts on the grants and the funding associated to that. But the way I look at this, digital skills, digital equity to me means digital skills, right? And from the standpoint, I could be a military veteran who's coming back, who's highly educated, highly trained, very competent in the skills that I was working on, and they could have been technical skills. But I may lack digital skills necessary to acquire a job in the civilian world. Maybe I don't know how to use Zoom or Teams or Microsoft Outlook and some basic functions. Those are digital skills that somebody needs to have in order to be considered for a job, right? So if we're focused on the job side of it, to me, we like to focus on the digital skills required in order to be sufficiently prepared for a job. Others, in the communities that we would like to be able to serve are folks that may not even know how to use the internet, may not even know how to turn on the computer. Now, there's a lot of organizations that are focused and working in that space, where our focus at the moment is skills related to that are required to secure a job. The lack of standardized and credentialed training. And this is, when you look at the cyber industry and you look at even solar and renewable energies and some of the newer industries that are much newer than the broadband industry, they're much further along than we are as it relates to defined occupations, credentials associated to them, where there's an accepted and agreed upon set of skills, qualifications, and credentials necessary for certain jobs and for advancement. And I think WIA is probably the leader in this, and they have been working really, really hard at trying to create these credentials and trying to unify the industry. And the way I look at it is we want to continue to put wind in that sail, because we think it's really important. When every employer accepts different levels of skills, it's a real barrier for scaling a workforce program, especially across the country. And not unlike other industries, there is a aging workforce and people are retiring. And I think that's one of the other, very common challenges. We're a not-for-profit organization that's committed to driving innovation and prioritizing solutions to make sure that we have a diverse and well-trained workforce. We want to bring groups together. So we partner with leading organizations to implement stakeholder-driven models to create customized solutions. So in any engagement, it typically needs to have academia, multiple different trade associations who represent different segments of the ecosystem, and then the employers that those trade associations represent. What are our primary objectives? We want to generate awareness and the career opportunities, not just to job seekers today, but to younger folks who are in middle school, who could have opportunities to learn about these occupations and learn about the digital skills and learn about the industry in general, because we're looking to create a pipeline and a program that supports a pipeline, not just an initiative. We don't want to just do something that's going to start today and end tomorrow. And these thoughts, by the way, began way before BEAD was even a conversation, just to set that context. We want to create experiences that individuals from middle school, high school graduates, folks returning from prior incarceration, from the military, or just folks that live in inner cities or underserved communities that would like upskilling and reskilling opportunities, to have opportunities to learn about these jobs. We want to make sure that people have good paying jobs, and we want to provide opportunities for folks for reskilling. What are our core functions? It's convening stakeholders, and you would think that this would be easier. It's easier said than done. It's really a function of unifying groups of people together, to be willing to go after funding in a unified way, and then to be able to understand what each of our sort of roles in the ecosystem are. So we convene stakeholders. We engage with the communities, from the employers to academia. What kind of training exists today in the local community? Because remember, this is a workforce solutions has got to be local. You could say there's a national initiative, but if you don't have a local focus and a local approach to know exactly what those employers are looking for, what their demands are, the skills they're looking for, and what training opportunities are available, you're not going to have scalable success. To ensure that the industry partners know what the employers need. So this is primarily a trade association function, and our goal in this is to really support them and be additional boots on the ground. We talked about career awareness, good paying jobs, and then data. So I talked to a large research foundation yesterday who is supporting some broadband initiatives in what they call the heartland, in the middle of the country. I think there's 20 states or so that they're representing. And they've put a fair amount of money into building a job-oriented website, but there's no ability for them to identify who's visited, and what actions they've taken, and to be able to find out any data about the success or failures of the engagements. And they're providing links out to training companies and to employers. And so in my mind, coming from a business-minded person, not a not-for-profit environment, I'm always thinking about how to make something that is scalable but sustainable, that's not dependent upon grants. We need support from grants and philanthropic supporters today, but ultimately we want to create a business model that is self-sustaining. And how do you do that? Data's got to be a big part of it. So all of our initiatives think about how to collect data, how to use that data to improve upon programs. We have a bunch of volunteers, and this is just a partial list of friends in the industry who have committed to being part of our sort of advisory board. As we continue to grow and the needs of the organization become greater, we'll expand this. And we have lots of people raise their hand who have said, look, we want to be supportive. And this is on our website also. It's training certifications, it's apprenticeship and jobs, and it starts with industry awareness. What's our playbook? Well, we're going to amplify the industry. We're going to provide digital literacy and digital skills opportunities and access to workforce training. And how are we going to do it? We're going to do it by leveraging the broadbandcareers.com industry gateway, which I'll show you in just a moment here. You see my whole screen, not just the window? Do you see a new deck now?
No.
So,
Yes. Okay, I'm sorry, because I haven't used Zoom in a while. I've been so stuck in Teams, so I just wanted to make sure. So actually, let me do the awareness one first. I think that's more appropriate.
Am I the only one that doesn't see his slides?
yes.
Okay.
So my background before the 11 years that I've been in the broadband space was in direct marketing and advertising and data analytics. So when I think of career awareness and I think about communicating a message to the masses, I made a living from this and built companies and actually sold a couple of them that delivered hundreds of millions of messages to the right person at the right time using the right media. It's so bizarre hearing myself say that, because that's exactly what my tagline used to say, and that's what I used to say all the time. It's just been many, many years. So when I thought about it in this capacity, it wasn't difficult for me to realize how to create a campaign around awareness. And so Connect Your Future campaign, or CYF, is a multi-year career awareness initiative. We want to communicate to people about these empowering careers, and how do we people have to understand what is broadband and how does it impact our lives. And most people don't really understand this. I was in a meeting in Chicago right before Christmas with a whole group of folks in the cybersecurity industry. Now, cybersecurity wouldn't even be a topic of conversation if it wasn't for broadband, right? And these folks had no idea about the industry behind broadband. It was really shocking to me, but these are people that you would expect to understand the industry itself and perhaps some of the infrastructure jobs and so forth. So it impacts every aspect of our society. I know I'm mentioning things to you that you already know, but this is sort of the concept of what the campaign is going to look like. What are our objectives? To build awareness of the industry's broadband careers, promote the benefits of these careers, to improve our industry's image, and in some cases just make it known, and then to establish leadership and workforce development. The target populations that we are planning to focus on and the ones that we are actively engaged in focusing on are beginning with the transitioning military folks, U.S. veterans and their spouses, young adults from marginalized communities, citizens returning from incarceration, which is a personal, all three of these so far are really personal passions of mine, and then high school students, women, and career changers. And I think, as we know, if we don't start doing this now, the next 10, 15, 20 years with AI and how it's going to change the jobs and how it's going to reduce certain jobs but create new jobs, if we don't create the opportunities for companies to be able to reskill and upskill their existing people efficiently, we're going to continue to create obstacles for us to have efficient production in our economy. So how do we turn this vision into reality? These are some concepts. So I've always envisioned this bus tour. I've had this vision of a bus tour going around the country, and I have a friend actually on the East Coast who builds these mobile experiences for the likes of T-Mobile and some other very large organizations when they're looking to promote and launch a new product. He owns all these buses and stuff. I said, look, mock it up for me because I want to go get support because I think we can use this as a way to make this available for our industry. So the idea is we could create a national tour. The tour would stop at career centers, can stop at convention centers, can stop at schools, can go to stadiums, to concerts, wherever we find opportunities where we want to engage with people and give them hands-on activities. So inside, maybe you can't see it here. Yeah, so inside, the vision would be to actually have engaging activation opportunities for folks to really learn about the industry, the jobs available. And some people have asked us if we can utilize the same infrastructure for digital skills training in the field. And the answer is, of course, it's equipped with the computer equipment to do that. In the military connected community, and while this says veteran mentorship program, which it is, it really extends to any population that we are targeting to bring into our industry. In the military community in particular, these folks have had very little adult, in a lot of cases, adult interactions with civilian adults. And when they come back, in order for them to be comfortable and to eliminate some of the mental health crisis that is likely to happen with some of the PTSD, one of our primary goals is to support them. How do we do that? Well, there's been a lot of studies out there that talk about the importance of having mentorship and support systems for these folks coming back to civilian life. And so the idea is we have a digital platform that incorporates this technology already. It essentially allows us to simply go to companies and let them promote this to their employees. Would you like to be a mentor to assist transitioning service members interested in entering our industry? And they go to our system, they register, they create a profile for themselves as a mentor, they assign up, I'm willing to do an hour, 2 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is they're willing to do a month, what hours of the day, what days of the week, when do they want to be available. It basically integrates with our schedule. A veteran who's interested in joining the industry simply goes, they find Eric and they send a note to Eric through this platform. They schedule a Zoom face-to-face meeting. They can do it once, they can do it 10 times. It's up to them and how often they want to connect. Our goal is to create a digital platform to connect folks interested in connecting with a civilian in our industry to help them pick a career pathway. How does it work? I just sort of explained it how it works. We intend to use a lot of webinars and events. So we have a lot of that experience. The trade associations have platforms to support it, and we want to be able to do mass marketing, and we want to be able to give people opportunities to integrate or interact with folks in an environment similar to what we're doing here. Some face-to-face, some over webinars. So we intend to use a series of webinars to create interest and provide people access to enter into a community where they can talk to like-minded people about the jobs, the occupations that are available. That's some of the examples on the Connect Your Future campaign. And one other thing I want to mention when we're talking about schools and libraries, I believe that it's really important to provide digital materials and printed materials and some curriculum opportunities for the schools that are supporting middle and high schools. So the teachers can be informed about the jobs, the industry, and they can even be given some lesson plans and some flyers and some other digital materials and printed materials to send home to parents, because you have to really blanket a society if you're going to inform people that right now have no knowledge about the industry. That makes sense so far?
You bet.
Okay. Oops, I just closed the wrong thing. Give me a second. You can see my next set of slides.
Yes.
Okay. So broadbandcareers.com is intended to be the digital gateway for connecting individuals that are interested in exploring our industry. They have to have a place to go. The platform itself will take on a life of its own, we believe, but it's a gateway to jobs, apprenticeships, internships, and educational resources. It's an online platform that empowers students and veterans and others to explore and thrive in their careers by actually getting educated, learning about the industry, and ultimately connecting directly with employers to gain jobs and or internships, mentorships, as we mentioned earlier. For job seekers, I need to explore career pathways. Where do I go? I've been talking to people about this now for close to 8 years or more now. And just recently, one of our trade association partners has invested a lot of time and energy in creating a career pathway solution, a tool. Our goal is to amplify it, right? We're not necessarily interested in building a career pathway tool. We're interested in amplifying the tools and the resources that exist today, and how do we make them available to the masses? And so the idea being, we want to give a student the ability to come to a platform and have the ability to not only create a profile for themselves, it's like LinkedIn for the trades, but LinkedIn for broadband, and let this individual figure out how to acquire skills, learn about the relative different career pathways and the credentials that are necessary to excel within those pathways, be able to accumulate credentials and attach them to their profile so they become more marketable to employers. And it essentially gives the job seekers the ability, again, to connect with mentors and ultimately into internships and then to jobs. For the veterans, we talked about the importance of having support. Not a lot of people think about this, but there's the transitioning military folks, there are veterans who have already transitioned, and then there's the veteran spouses. There's a whole there's a massive community where veteran spouses need a lot of support to gain jobs, because they're not moving around right now. They're not moving around. Some of them have skills, some of them need to be trained. And our goal is to make sure that we don't leave out any parts of the military connected community. For employers, if I'm looking to hire people in a particular market, there's a lot of job boards out there. So we thought, we don't want to build just a job board. We can aggregate data from every job board out there, but we wanted to create a community of people who would be directly interested in connecting with employers that are hiring for these jobs. You can go to Monster, Indeed, or LinkedIn, or any of these other ones, and while they're useful and we're not trying to discourage the use of them, we think that we can create a ecosystem of qualified folks that are proficient in understanding the industry, the occupations, have taken some steps to become prepared, who then become much more qualified to connect with employers. So we want to create a pipeline for employers of folks that are prepared and and are ready for those jobs. We envision that companies will create a profile and will market themselves and their cultures to the local folks that the employers are seeking to hire. For the trade associations and curriculum providers and academia and community colleges and training schools, I think Aaron may have been the one who introduced me to North Star Digital Literacy, or maybe it was somebody, not Aaron or somebody else, or at least we've talked about it. So we want to find best in class curriculum, and we're not looking to build curriculum. We're looking to, again, amplify it and be able to provide a central location to support access to it. And we have partnerships right now with what I would consider the leaders in the curriculum space. And again, our goal is to use this evergreen brand as the broadbandcareers.com platform to amplify the training programs that exist today. There's a lot of coordination, as you can imagine, between taking curriculum and getting it to an individual. Some of it is online, some of it is live instructor, some of it has to be hands-on, and you have to be face-to-face. So there's a lot of coordination, and it's one of the challenges I think we have now as an industry, which is not dissimilar to the challenges that the solar industry had several years ago, where there was a lot of amp around training people to become prepared as solar technicians and the ability to go out and install and manage the solar systems. Well, guess what? The money, the funding to go do the construction and the building of it was delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. So the training happened, but there were no jobs. And it took a long time. And it seems like it's very similar to the experience that we're having now in a lot of ways. It's a lot of funding, but it's going to take a lot longer for it to actually hit the streets than we all thought. Well, guess what? If we wait to start educating people through awareness campaigns, once the ISPs and their contractors are looking to hire people, it's too late. How do we combat that now? And I believe that we use a program that we've created that's called the Industry Fundamentals 1.0, which is not a workforce training program. It's an awareness course that allows people to, when you complete it, essentially you're able to demonstrate a proficient understanding in the history of the industry, the evolution of the industry, the different technologies that are used, and options, and what are the relative career pathways that are there. And with that completion and a stamp from a trade association attached to your profile, when the jobs are available and the training companies are looking to engage individuals to enter their training program to then become ready for a job, we would have built a pipeline of qualified folks to then market them to market the training and the job opportunities to. And I believe that that's really, really important. And that's what I've really been pushing on lately, is this fundamentals course entry. And for educators, sort of the same thing. Now, educators in this case is really talking about the younger students, and how do we provide them with a place that they can drive their young students and the teachers for lesson plan access, and the ability for a middle school or high school teacher to learn about the careers, the pathways, and how do I then provide them access to some curriculum that's appropriate for preparing students who may be interested in a job after high school, who may be interested in a 2-year, 4-year degree, whatever it is. We want to meet people where they are. That is the Broadband Careers platform. Steve, I can stop sharing, and then we can talk if there's other questions that are there. I know I covered a lot of information, and I didn't know how much time I had, so I apologize if I spoke too fast. I hope that what I shared was useful.
Eric, that was awesome. And we don't have a lot of time, but first of all, I'm sure there's a couple of people on the call who probably want to chime in. Bill D'Agostino, I know you've got something to say.
No, I just appreciate what he's doing. I think there's a lot of synergy for it, and I think he's spot on in terms of a number of things that he's identified. So, Eric, I'm sure we'll follow up offline.
Great, Bill. Be great to connect with you.
And I did post in the chat for everybody. There is a career pathways tool that WIA has launched, and that ties into what we're doing with our TIRAP program. So Eric mentioned that already.
Bill, just
that is the career pathways tool that we want to amplify. That's it. No, that's the career pathways tool that I mentioned. That and that's the one that we sort of envision. The way I like to see it, we're a direct to consumer brand, and we want to amplify what the professional trade associations have created for their members. We want to make it available to the masses.
Yep.
So Bill, just tell people quickly about who WIA is.
WIA is the Wireless Infrastructure Association. We represent over 250 companies that are really the companies that design, build, own, operate infrastructure. We have an extensive curriculum for training. We are the also an industry intermediary with Department of Labor, certification for our TIRAP program and apprenticeship programs. And my focus with WIA is to support the states with workforce development. So, very, very synergistic with what you just heard Eric talk about.
So a couple of things. Thanks, Bill. So a couple of things. And Kelly, I think you're still online, and I assume you'd want to connect with him, as well as Anthony with the State Library and Connect Arizona. But because we're short on time, I want to do a couple of quick things. First of all, I think it would behoove us to have maybe even an offline meeting with Eric and talk more about how we can help to support and promote what he's doing here in Arizona. So, Eric, thank you very much. You're doing some really great stuff, and we definitely want to continue that dialogue with you. And then Elena, Elena, you want to just quickly give a preview of what's coming next week about SEDATA?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I think Mark put it in the chat. Common Sense worked with CETA on a report that we're going to report out on next week. It's if you save the chat, you can see it. It's the State of Educational Technology. I mean, it's CETA, which is the State Educational Technology Directors Association, a mouthful. The report is called the Universal Connectivity Imperative, Sustaining Progress to Close the Digital Access Divide in K through 12 education. So Brenna, my colleague, who's unfortunately out sick, is going to report out next week on the findings of the report with Jisoo, who also was one of the authors. And I think it'll be really interesting to see what those key findings were. So I'm not going to go into the details because you'll hear that next week.
Right. Thanks, Elena. Appreciate you arranging, and I'll follow up with you and Brenna about next week. Sounds great.
Sounds good.
A couple of quick things. So Kelly, are you still online?
Are you talking about Kelly Mukherjee?
I am. And so Kelly, I'm assuming that some of what Eric was talking about today is something you want to put on your website.
I would love to. So Eric, I would love to connect with you. I'm Kelly Mukherjee from ASU's Enterprise Technology. I'll reach out.
And then Anthony, I don't know if you're still online also with the State Library, but it seems to me that we might want to talk about obviously how we include this information on the Connect Arizona website, and maybe if there's just to plant a seed, if we need to do even a separate section on workforce training opportunities. So I think there's some need for us to have further discussion about how do we get the word out and collaborate with Eric on the work that they're doing. So with that, are there any other announcements, questions, comments that people have today for Eric or anybody? I don't hear anything, so I'm assuming that we're pretty much done for today. Again, Eric, thank you. Jonathan, I don't know if you're still online. It's actually been kind of interesting that we sort of have this synergy here. Jonathan's been participating with us, and he's connected with the WIA and with Eric. And so I think there's some real opportunities for us to do some good collaborative work. So that's my thing. Anybody have anything else? If anybody wants to stay online, I'm going to stop recording. Anybody wants to just stay online and chat, you're welcome to do that.